and not do any of the like bullshit that you see that's like all the crazy cool moves and stuff. I'm just like, nah, I don't even want to, like, it's cool to know it and practice and play with it, but I'm just like, that's not my focus at all. It's just like all like the stuff that you see the best guys doing. I'm just like, you may as well focus on that. That's like, it should be your base of where you're.
Did you get your purple belt in 3 years of training? Is that right?
Yeah, like pretty much right on 3 years, I think. That's when Ryan gave me a purple belt. Like I was like, I think I was at or maybe less. Maybe it was 2.5 years. No, it was 3 years because I just finished, left like the gym I started at where I got my blue belt, and then I think I was at Rhythm for about 4 or 5 months, and then Ryan's like, it's time that you need to be purple belt, and then. Yeah,
what do you think was the reason that you could grow so quickly from like?
I don't know. The way I remember stuff is just like, I think that's the biggest thing. Like, because the more you can remember, like, the more you can do when you're actually like fighting. So you just like, the more you can remember under like that stress of actually you're rolling, the better you are. Like that's all it is. It's just having an answer to the problem. But I remember easily by like if I can read something and visualize it, I remember it that way. So then jiu-jitsu is so easy because you get to like look at something, you see it, but then you can actually feel it and do it. And then I'm just like, it's just easy for me to remember like techniques or so. And then the more you know, the easier it is to remember because you just add in little parts of something you already know. So I think that's like the way I've just been able to just continue and progress. And then as I've been getting better, it's just like easier to get better that way.
That's such a superpower.
Happens like, yeah, it just gets quicker. Like I feel like I'm getting better quicker every day. Like I still feel like I'm progressing like more and more like
really
as I get better. Yeah.
Is it because the puzzle like that jiu-jitsu is, and then you see from far away, you see the picture better, like, oh, this is jiu-jitsu, and every time now you're training still like another piece falls in place.
Yeah, it's just more and more and more detail of like some one piece of whatever it is. It's just adding more layers to it. That's all it feels like now. It's like it's adding layers to the big pieces.
I can relate to that because in the beginning when I started, like the first 5 months, it was just a big mess of all these different positions.
Yeah.
And now it's like, oh, you have the back, the front, the side, different positions, and then from there you have attacks, defense, and then sort of that's it. And then you build from there, and then there are so many other things.
It just goes infinite. Yeah.
But when you have that base, then it's like, oh, you talk about this, so you go from there to there, and then it clicks.
Yeah, yeah. You can only do the theory to a certain point, and then you got to like apply it and figure out how it feels and what it feels on different bodies. And like you still have to drill it. Like you can't just watch a technique, even if it's like the perfect technique, and go, oh yeah, I can just go in there and do it. Like you know what it's like. You get shown the technique, the theory, and then you go to try and do it on someone good, and nothing works, and you're like, well, fuck, this isn't real.
It doesn't work at all. But then you haven't practiced it enough, right?
Haven't practiced it. So you always got to, and you kind of just figure that out as you go, like whether it is really going to work for you or if it just doesn't work on certain people or
Yeah. And that visualizing, do you do that as well? Because I found in the beginning, I was really closing my eyes, and like the new technique I learned, it's like, okay, move that way, I see them move. And then I can sort of feel all my muscles almost doing it without like needing to train. And then when I was going to train, then it was all in position. I could just flow through the movement. Is that part of your training?
Yeah, 100%. I usually do that I usually do it at night, like before, like as I'm going to sleep. There'll be like a technique or something that I think I know, but if I can't like play it all out in my head, like from beginning to finish, I know I don't really understand it. You know what I mean? Like you can't visualize it perfectly, like every detail. I'm like, oh yeah, I don't really get it. I need to like put some more working, or there's a part I don't understand yet. So I'll do that usually when I'm going to sleep. I'll be like, whatever it is, there's some certain specific thing, and I'll like go step by step by step. And I like a lot of detail, so I'll be like, if there's one little piece I don't know, I'll be like, okay, I need to figure out what I'm meant to do here or something. And it's a good time to like play it through when you're playing it through your head. If if it's not really clear, I'm like, I don't understand it yet. I don't. So I'll fix it up till where I can just play it all the way through and be like, yeah, I know every little detail to that. Even though in like a live situation, you never get to do every single little piece like of the detail that like to the extent that I like, because like things happen, shit changes.
Yeah.
But I'm like perfect scenario. I want to be able to play that in my head like the way it should happen.
I mean, if you have 100% in your head, but you're able in like a rush to do 80% of like the work, then the other person isn't probably doing the defense 100% right either.
That's right. Yeah.
So there's still 20% for like an attack somewhere.
And that's kind of the way I started like thinking about it, because you can just show, especially when I was like now when I'm teaching, I'm like, you can just show something so simply, but it's never going to work on like the best people. Like that's why I'll show, like I could show something in like 3 steps, like an armbar. I could show you 3 steps, but I'd rather show you 20 details. And then like for sure, if I showed it the way, if there's 3 steps, you're going to remember the 3 steps, but anyone good, you'll try and do it on them and it just won't work. I'd rather show like 20 details to the armbar or 30, and then maybe you'll remember 10 of those or 12 of those in your first session, and then it's actually going to start to work. And then the next session you might remember a couple more and a couple more, instead of just remembering 3 shit steps forever. You're just building on that, the 30 details of what you should know about an armbar, and you kind of just add the layers, and that's all it is. Like that's so I rather teach like that. I'd rather teach way more details, and I look around the room and I see people just like, fuck, you can just be like, they're not remembering this, but at least they'll remember 10 or 5 of the good pieces of it, and then they can build on it later.
What is your goal? You have a big one for jiu-jitsu?
I just want to be able to roll with like the best guys. Like when you have like those really good guys coming in, I just want to be able to just like hang with them and spar with them, and just to not get destroyed by them. That's always been my thing. Like, remember when I started, I'm like, I want to be able to sort of be at the level where I can like spar and train with black belts. And my goal was like 7 years, because I would see jiu-jitsu and I'm like, oh, it takes like 10. They're like roughly talking about how long it takes to get really good. And I'm like, 10 years. I was like, nah, I can do it in 7. I was like, 7 years, I want to be able to like be beating black belts. And then that happened so much quicker than what I thought. It was like a couple of years, of like 2, 3 years, and I was already sort of like getting there with like the high belts. And then now my goal is just get as good as I can while I can train, like spend as much time training and just progress. Like don't back off on spending the time like studying visualization, like, because it's easy to just go, oh, I'm like good enough and I'm just gonna just rock up to training and train, and like, but it's the work you do like at home, like the visualization, the thinking about what you're going to do when you go back into training. That's what actually helps you get better. Like you've got like like when you go into the gym to train, you've got like some things you're actually specifically going to work on. And it's like, it's a bit hard sometimes because you just want to go in and have fun. Sometimes it's good to just go in, think about nothing and just have fun. But sometimes I'm like, I need specific. You need, yeah. So it's just staying on that, like staying on the gas, like staying like keen to keep learning. That's all my goal is at the moment, is get as good as I can.